This module will help you understand different ways to test the customization and how the customization can be deployed across environments such as development, test, production, etc. We will learn how to apply various testing methods, how to deploy e-commerce solution, and how to use TFS for application lifecycle management. Testability is one of the primary design goals for any application. In this lesson, we'll learn about how test engineering guidance for e-commerce solution. Each type of test has a distinct purpose. They are the following. Unit testing. Unit tests are written by developers and run under a unit testing framework, such as Microsoft Visual Studio Team System or NUnit. Unit tests isolate and verify discrete units of program logic. They isolate the logic by replacing dependencies on the runtime environment, such as SharePoint, with test-provided substitutes. Isolation allows unit tests to run quickly, and developers can run unit tests frequently. Integration testing. Integration tests differ from unit tests in that the code under test is not isolated. Integration tests are written by developers or testers. They run in a unit testing framework. Acceptance testing. Acceptance tests consist of multiple steps that represent realistic usage scenarios of the application. These tests verify that an application meets the needs of the intended user. Their scope includes usability, functional correctness, and performance. Generally, test engineers create these tests. To make testing easier, you should avoid writing classes that have direct dependencies on other services. Various design patterns are available that you can use to avoid direct dependencies in your code. Suppose you want to design a web part that enables users to view and query product details from a catalog. In a rough proof-of-concept approach, you might create a visual web part and put all your logic in the code behind file. However, this makes it almost impossible to unit test your business logic. Your code is tightly coupled to the user interface, the SharePoint environment, and the data source. To make your logic testable, there are several design changes you can introduce. Use the model view presenter pattern to isolate your business logic from the user interface and the data source. You create a view class to render your user interface and a repository or model class to interact with your data source. All your business logic goes in the presenter class. Implement interfaces for your view classes and your services, such as repository classes. This enables you to replace the real class with a fake class, typically known as a stub class or a mock class. Use the service locator pattern to decouple your presenter class from specific implementations of the service that your presenter uses. This provides an interception point for you so that you can replace the real implementation that your presenter depends on with a fake implementation during text execution. Let's talk about the various testing aspects to consider for e-commerce solution. Continuous integration. Continuous integration is a process that provides a continual verification of a code as it is checked into the source repository. This process ensures that the quality of the checked-in code is always high, because developers do not want to be responsible for breaking the team build. It also ensures that any problem are quickly identified and addressed in many agile teams. Development stops if the CI server is read until the issue is resolved. Typically, development teams run CI in response to a check-in, although it may also run periodically at a regular interval, such as every couple of hours. The CI process builds the code and runs all of the unit tests. The CI process can also run additional checks, such as static analysis. For example, when you work with SharePoint solution, a recommended practice is to run the SP dispose check utility to check for leak disposal of SharePoint object. Web testing. Web testing stimulates the interactions between a user and a web-based user interface. The web test sends HTTP requests to your solution and verifies that the HTTP request it receives is as you expect. Even with sophisticated tools, writing a robust, repeatable web test can be challenging and time-consuming for complex user interfaces. Within Visual Studio, web tests are known as coded UI tests. Now let's talk about stress testing. Stress tests run an isolated component under excessive load condition. The purpose of a stress test is to drive the component beyond its normal operation conditions to ensure that it degrades gracefully. Usually, you will use integration tests to conduct stress testing, although you can also use coded UI tests. Stress tests are a useful way to detect certain classes of problems, including memory leaks due to improper disposal and threading-related issues, such as a deadlock or resource contention. Functional testing. Functional testing refers to a procedure that tests the functionality of an application from the perspective of a user. Functional tests can include manual tests, web tests, and integration tests. Now let's talk about build verification tests. Build verification tests works in a similar way to the continuous integration and typically uses the same tools. However, while continuous integration ensures the code builds successfully and passes unit tests, BVTs are used to determine whether code satisfies a representative subset of the functionality expected by the end user. Typically, BVTs use a combination of integration tests and coded UI tests. A BVT process builds, installs, deploys, and tests an application on a regular basis. Let's talk about load or scale testing. Load or scale testing measures the performance of a solution against a specific set of resources. Ideally, you should run load test or scale test on a test form that replicates the condition of your production environment. The idea is to ensure that your system behaves well under normal, high-end load conditions and to understand how your application scales as load increases. Load or scale testing uses coded UI tests, often with multiple computers running client test agents, to simulate requests and measure responses. User acceptance testing. User acceptance testing is a process that tests your solution from the user's perspective, such as load testing and functional testing procedures. In many agile development methodologies, the business owner for the system is also required to test the solution to ensure that business needs are being met. Functional testing by business owner is considered to be part of user acceptance testing. In this lesson, we'll learn how to deploy customizations to eCommerce site. A solution package is a distribution package that delivers your custom SharePoint server 2013 development environment work to the web server or the application server in your server form. Use solution to package and deploy custom features, site definitions, templates, layout pages, master pages, web parts, CSS, and assemblies. A solution file is a cap file with a .wsp file name extension and a manifest file. It is recommended that you use Visual Studio 2012 tools for SharePoint to deploy and package SharePoint solution. Components that can be packaged in a solution include .NET Framework assemblies, typically web part assemblies and event receiver assemblies, deployment files such as resource files, pages, master pages, or other helper files, features which allow you to activate and deactivate code in a website, and provide functionality that include elements such as custom lists, libraries, fields, and content types. New templates and site definitions. Configurations that must be performed at the web server level. For example, deploying customizations to the web.config file for the registration of the web parts. Web content such as web pages, JavaScript, and images that are called by web pages. In this demo, I will walk you through the Solution Package Explorer in Visual Studio and show you how to activate, deactivate features in SharePoint. Let's open the storefront solution in Visual Studio. In here, let's go ahead and open SharePoint web.webparts project. You can see a couple of folders here that we are interested in, a features folder and a package folder. Let's go ahead and open the package folder, right-click, and say View in Designer. You should be able to see a designer like this. In here, you can see the items in the solution and the items that are included as part of this package. You can add more items to the package if you'd like. Let's go ahead and click on the manifest. The manifest XML is the one that goes as part of the solution package, the WSP file. In here, you can see the features that are included as part of the solution. For example, this solution includes the retail web part feature. Now, let's take a look at the feature. Let's open the feature, and you should see the feature designer like this. In here, you can see the list of items that are available in the solution and the list of items that are included in this feature. This feature includes all the web parts for the solution. You can provide a title, description, and a scope for a feature. The feature scope could be form, site, web, or web application. In this case, we have set it to site. Now let's move to SharePoint and go to Central Admin. In Central Admin, click on System Settings, and under Form Management, click on Manage Form Solutions. Here, you can see all the solutions that are WSP files which are deployed to the form. Let's go ahead and open one of them. And in here, you can see the status and where it's deployed to. If you want to uninstall a solution, you can click on Retract Solution and uninstall the solution. Solutions in eCommerce are typically deployed using a PowerShell script. Now let's take a look at a WSP package file. I have the retail storefront WSP file here. A WSP file is essentially just a cab file. So let's go ahead and rename it to cab. And let's open it up. Here, you can see the various files that are included in the solution and a manifest file. A manifest file contains the list of items that are included in a solution and also the target for each of the file. Now, let's go back to the Contoso portal, click on the gear icon, and click on Site Settings. Under Site Collection Administration, let's click on Site Collection Features. In here, you can see all the features that are activated to this site, that are installed to this site. You can click on Activate to activate one of the features, or you can click on Deactivate to deactivate an existing feature. For example, if I deactivate a feature for the web parts, it will remove the web parts, and the web parts will be no longer available in the solution. Storefront solution contains the capability to customize the online store. Users can modify the solution, package it into a solution, and deploy it using a deployment script. This lesson describes how to build a package, modify the deployment setting, and deploy it. Log into the server with host credentials, navigate to the directory where the out-of-the-box topology and out-of-the-box settings files are stored. By default, these are stored under Program Files, Microsoft Dynamics 60, Retail Channel, Tools. Open OOB topology XML file in Notepad and make sure the settings for web application and the solution file locations are correct. To deploy the solution package to a form, use PowerShell script deploy form solutions.ps1. Running the script performs the following actions on the server: deploys the new SharePoint solution package, activates the features, and executes post-deployment custom scripts. When the system finishes the operation, you can verify the deployment. In this lesson, we'll learn how to use TFS for eCommerce application lifecycle management. Developers must be able to infuse quality, testing, and ALM considerations into the development process. TFS is a strong instrumental component of an ALM strategy and central to the development effort. TFS should be used when more than one developer has to contribute or develop part of the solution, or when functional requirements for the application change over time, or when the application requires integration with other applications or solution components, or when developers have to use quality control measures such as automated builds and testing. Visual Studio Team Foundation Server 2012 provides both build and test services that can be triggered on solution checks from Visual Studio 2012 or at specified scheduled intervals. TFS provides build services that can compile solutions checked into source control and place the output in centralized drop folders for deployment to target environments in an automated manner. The primary method of configuring TFS to conduct automated build deployments and testing on SharePoint applications is to create a build definition in Visual Studio. The build definition contains information about which code project to compile, as well as any post-compilation activities, such as testing and actual deployment to the target environments. By using testing as a means of verification, build and deployment of the application, the team is provided with an understanding of quality, as well as a way of knowing when a recent change to the application code has compromised the e-commerce application. In this module, you learn how to apply various testing methods, how to deploy e-commerce solution, and how to use TFS for application lifecycle management. This brings us to the end of this course, Development and Customization for E-commerce in Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012 R3. In this course, we covered the following modules: E-commerce technical overview, development environment requirements, branding the e-commerce site, e-commerce web parts, search configuration and customization, commerce runtime services, testing, development, and versioning. Thank you for joining me.